To determine the fate of an already broken world is quite an extraordinary task. Yet here we are with Biomutant, an open-world, post-apocalyptic action RPG from Experiment 101, where we focus on animals who run this world full of turmoil. But these animals are not the typical wildlife you see in reality. Rather, we have a great mix of fantasy and science fiction overcoating this animal kingdom with a new look and personality.
Out of Date says his friends are gearing up to stop the World Eaters. There's one at the end of each route.
In Biomutant, you play as the protagonist furry creature that ultimately decides what destiny the world will experience. This world is shaped by the history of human error and misguidance. As explained in the narrative, the advancements and need for energy in the human world led to the rise of a corporation known as Toxinol. Wildlife adapted to nuclear energy, causing them to become stronger as humanity continued to fade away into extinction. Over time, the animals developed culture, language, and technology to become their own civilized tribes. Here we follow you, the protagonist of this story. You begin your journey by creating and customizing the type of creature you wish to be. Outside of looks, this character creation has you choose from various breeds, classes, stats, and resistances, allowing you to fully tailor the character to your gameplay preference and aesthetic style. The beauty of this customizability is that you get a solid grasp of what each trait entails for you. With your choice of weapons, armor, and level up upgrades, you can constantly change up your character's build to your whim. After creation, you begin your journey with combat and overworld tutorials. Right off the bat, you'll notice the most captivating feature of Biomutant is the surrounding environment. The graphics are gorgeous and full of vibrant colors. You could travel from a radioactive cave to a nuclear power plant to an icy tundra, and the environments all look fantastic. Without a doubt, Biomutant is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever played. The music of the adventure ranges from fitting to satisfactory. I appreciate how the soundtrack changes to fit the vibe of the scenario. However, I do wish there was more variety. I've heard the same few tracks playing throughout my playthrough, and it quickly became a bit dry. What does stand out are some of the major characters you meet along the way. They have wonderful individuality and spirit to them that add a lot of flavor to your adventure. Most err on the silly side when it comes to their personality, but there's nothing wrong with having more laughs and smiles during your playthrough, as some of the dialogue and design choices are genuinely hilarious. Since the game has fictional animal languages, the narrator translates all the dialogue for you. He also chimes in with quotes, phrases, and idioms as you're playing through the game. While entertaining at first, the narrator kinda became irksome over time. It's as if the narrator is an overly eager friend that wants to be involved in every move you make. Luckily, you have the option to reduce his level of input, so that's exactly what I did. Your choices on your ideologies, morals, and alignment affect what's to come in your future. You even have an aura level, which shows if you're leaning towards good or evil, represented by dark and light. What's quite wonderful about Biomutant is that the world builds around what you decide to do, meaning your outcomes and experiences will depend on you. You're also not locked to one path, so if you decide to change your mind about certain things, you certainly can. I like the notion that you're shaping the future of the world surrounding you. It feels refreshing not to have a premeditated story planned out for your character. Instead, you're making your own narrative. The gameplay consists of three main aspects: exploration, looting, and combat. This map is massive, and unless you solely focus on main quests, it'll take you a hefty amount of time to even unlock all the areas. And yet, despite the grand size of the game world, there's no shortage of reason for exploring. This is probably a good point to mention you aren't alone in your journey. You also have a bug companion known as an automaton. If you explore carefully, you'll find ways to upgrade your automaton. The upgrades range from healing to exploring aids to combat support. If that wasn't enough, you get different means to explore as you expand the map. You can traverse in a fighting robot in the oxygenless dead zone, or make a speedboat-like device to roam through the deep waters. You also get to ride animal companions on the road, allowing you to add speed and variety to your exploration. With the many areas you uncover, you also get to loot. Loot consists of many items such as health packs, armor, weapons, and modifications to your gear and weapons. With these weapons, you fight a variety of enemies. Depending on your choices, some of the other tribe animals may either come to your aid or harm you. Alongside melee combat, you also have the option to use your martial arts skills, guns, and psi powers, which are energy-consuming psychic abilities you can acquire over time. Some of the powers you have access to will depend on your aura level, so keep that in mind as you encounter your variety of moral decisions. Though it's not tough to grasp the fighting mechanics, I do wish the movement felt a bit more fluid. It's not bad by any means, but I had a few moments where the direction input took more time than I had anticipated. I would also say this is probably the only instance where the graphics don't feel as refined compared to the environment. Some combat animations can be rough, but it's pretty minuscule and it doesn't distract from the fights. Despite these small drawbacks, the combat is still addicting and enjoyable. While I had loads of fun, I wish I had more of a challenging experience with this game. Much of the game's inner workings proved to be a bit too easy. Even on greater difficulties, the game holds your hand through some things. Though some fights are tough and time-consuming, the amount of health packs you find is staggering. Even generous is an overstatement. I think reducing and spreading out the health items would allow for a more strategic and challenging opportunity. Also, much of what you explore and unlock are blocked by puzzles. These puzzles are effortless and childlike, as you just have to match knobs or dials with their respective colors. Even with the limit to your turns, I've never had an issue solving any of these. A bit more variety and challenge to these puzzles would make things more intriguing and not so monotonous. To add to this monotony are the side quests in the game. Although some are quite rewarding and driven by plot, many others are just fetch quests or quests to find certain landmarks. If it weren't for the fact that the world is so beautiful and great to explore, I think I wouldn't have approached many of these to begin with. Luckily, the game understands the free world aspect very well. Because players, such as myself, spend a lot of time seeking secrets and being distracted, the enemies of the world scale to match your character level and difficulty setting. So if you veer from the main quest for hours and you find yourself at a much higher level, you don't have to worry about finding the main objectives to be too easy. Biomutant comes out the gate incredibly strong with high customization and a stunning world to explore. Players have agency over the adventure through interactions, providing an immersive experience unique to the player, making it a must-play for any action-adventure fan. However, the more time you do spend in this world, the more you notice where things could be a bit improved. As some missions become less fun with no help from the low difficulty, you'll likely want to speed past some portions of the game. Still, that's one small issue to an otherwise grand adventure full of wonderful features, gameplay, and beauty that can't be overlooked. Noisy Pixel is giving Biomutant a 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to provide news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up to date with all of our future content.
Noisy Pixel.